Hello, Internet, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake.
And this is Unpopular Culture.
And we watched Inside Out, and it was really good.
Yeah, but before the movie, I think it's fair to talk about the short film, because Pixar movies always have short films before them.
Yeah.
And let me just say, I love Pixar short films, I always have, and I think I've liked every single one I've ever seen, other than this one.
Oh my god, this one was so bad. So it's basically a volcano that wants to fall in love with another volcano, and then they sing a fucking song the whole time, and you're like, that's not how volcanoes work. And then it ends, and you're like, this is the fucking worst thing I've ever seen in my life, and I hate it, and it made me want to hate the movie, like, going in, like I was in a bad mood. This should be your warm-up act, and it should make me happy, like all the other ones. Like Paper was a really good one. That's last time.
Not even just animated short films.
Just a great film.
Pixar has made some of the best short films straight up ever, and they just shit the bed. I don't know what they were doing. The song wasn't very good. The mountain singing looked really awkward, and like their animation is usually on point. And I don't know if this was just a limitation of the design or what, but it looked weird.
No, it was a bad idea. It was a bad idea that they tried to execute, because it looked like they make anthropomorphic volcanoes. Sure. Yes, I know that's stupid. Wasn't my idea. And by the way, the lady volcano, way out of the league of the main.
Oh yeah, that was a sexy ass volcano.
Oh yeah,
I'd fuck that volcano.
I'd rub up on it or something. But it was singing, so I'd be like, "Shut up, bitch." And the song was really bad. And the idea, it was called Lava, and the idea was,
it's a pun.
I lava you.
That's not even a good pun.
Oh, Hawaii you. I Hawaii you is a better pun than I lava you. And that doesn't even make sense.
No, it was really bad. And people in the theater seemed to like it both times I saw it, because I saw this movie twice.
No.
It was terrible both times. I
sat there for a second, and I turned to Hugo and I said, that's the worst fucking film they've ever made. And then we both laughed, and the movie started. Yeah. Which is good, because the movie redeemed it.
Yeah, Pixar usually has really good movies. The only bad ones they've really done are like Cars 2 and Cars, arguably. But like, I wouldn't put this on like WALL-E or Up level. But
WALL-E and Up are like just fantastic films, regardless of who does it. Yeah. But as far as animated films, this is one of the best ones in the last few years. Yeah. Because there's not, to be fair, there's not a lot of competition.
But it's them and DreamWorks, and that's about it.
But this was really good. It had this neat idea, which was, inside everyone's mind are these different emotions, and they're anthropomorphic, and Amy Poehler is joy, which makes so much sense, and Phyllis from The Office, whose actual name is Phyllis, is sadness, which also makes sense. Then you have Louis Black, who is anger, Mindy Kaling, who is disgust, so she's kind of like a, oh my god, girl, which is pretty funny, and she does it well. And then I'm pretty sure it was Bill Hader, who was fear. It was a neat idea.
Yeah, I think as far as the concept goes, I'd rather them be doing this than, like, it seems like they got in a rut for a while, like before WALL-E and before Up, where it was just like, what if we take a thing, but it's alive? Obviously, Toy Story, Cars, stuff like that. It was getting a little bit but I like this concept, and it's certainly been done before. I've even seen other cartoons that do this kind of thing, where you anthropomorphize the inside of your thought process. Right. But this was well done. The world was creative. I thought the casting of all the emotion was perfect. We talk about it. Louis Black as Anger was probably my favorite, and I don't necessarily like Louis Black's stand-up, though I do like
the same thing every time.
Though I do like him on The Daily Show. But I thought he was perfect for this. Every line he did, I thought was funny. It was perfect. Amy Poehler basically playing Leslie Knope again, but inside someone's head. But it worked. It was totally fine. All the other ones were pretty good, not as notable, but still they did well in the roles. If I had one criticism, because the movie is still good overall, the family, the outside family, where it's the actual people, not as interesting as it could have been, and I think it suffered emotionally speaking because of that, because the little girl is fine, she's likable, she seems like a real little girl for the most part, but
you would kind of expect like an Andy character out of that. And even though Andy, you only got to see a little bit and was basically just a boy with toys, you can tell how much the toys love him, so you love him You love him as well, but the joy and sadness and all them, it didn't have that connection.
And they at the beginning they definitely have a montage where they talk about how much they care about her, but it didn't stick as much as the toys in Toy Story.
I don't know why either, because they can look through memories and you can see that all of them have like favorite memories, especially Joy. It was really interesting. Yeah. They kind of have these little orbs that are memories, and then some of them go into long term, some of them get dumped, and some of them go into core memories. It's it's a neat way to explain how people think, and it feels like I should have cared more.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen for some reason, and I don't know why. I'm gonna blame lava.
I'm gonna say, I think part of it lies in that the family was very much a Disney family, where it was a little too nice and pleasant. There were parts where the dad was a little stressed out.
I thought they were gonna get divorced or something at some point.
It still felt like they were way too Disney-fied. Like, look at Toy Story. I mean,
single mom. It
felt like more like a real family, even though you don't see a lot of them. I think the situation, you can infer a lot, and it allows you to fill in gaps. And The Incredibles, for instance, which all human characters, that family felt real because they disagreed a lot and stuff. Yeah. And this, again,
they had like they skirted around, like, we're gonna have a fight, but then it just kind of doesn't happen, or I don't know. It didn't feel as emotionally charged. Like, Up confronted infertility and death and sadness, like, up front, first 5 minutes. If you're not emotional, you're a soulless like person that, I don't know, you have the blackest heart ever, because that just made you feel. It catches all the feels. But this, they don't ever take you there, even though they flirt with it a little bit.
I think part of the problem too was the message of the movie, I guess spoilers, ends up being that sadness, I mean, one of the messages, there's more, which we'll talk about closer to the end, but one of them is like, sadness is important. Sadness can alert others to that you need help.
Right.
But the thing is, the family was never really withdrawn. The family always felt very supportive of her all the time anyway, so it kind of took away from the emotional impact when she does get sad at the end and they come to her aid. Like, it's not like they weren't already attentive. Every time they had an interaction, I felt like the parents really cared and were interested in their daughter's life already.
It felt like all-star parents. Like, they're just the best goddamn parents ever. And I don't know, it felt like this adolescent kind of attitude thing where it wasn't really... Like, sure, you're sad, you miss your friend, because what happens is that they move across the country from Minnesota to San Francisco, and yes, that's a huge move, but that's not anything to be, like, super depressed about. Like, kill a grandma off or something, and, like, make it emotional and make it something that someone would actually have to battle with. Yes, she's 11 years old. I'm not saying you have to do something fucking horrible to her. It's a Disney film, but like something that even adults can relate to, not just losing some friends and not getting to be on your hockey team.
It is a Disney film. They could have killed one of her parents.
Exactly.
like tons of Disney movies do that, and that would have been.
And I think the best, if that's the route they're going to go, kill the mom, because the dad was a stronger character in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And plus, I think it's interesting you can show depression on a man's face in animated form, because you can be like, okay, now he's scruffy and he's kind of tired, and it would have very much the same Up thing, I think, so maybe they didn't want to do that, but I don't know, it was missing a real issue that all the internal characters, joy, sadness, fear, etc., needed to deal with together, and maybe they all, like, you're experiencing all the emotions at once would have been interesting, but pretty much what happens is sadness, just for no reason, she doesn't know why, she just starts touching things.
I think the implication is that
she's depressed.
Riley is sad and depressed, so her emotion, whatever, it's a back and forth relationship, so she starts doing the things that she's supposed to be doing, which is making her feel sad, and the others.
But they get sucked out, and then they go off into like her long-term memory, and then you get to see kind of the world that is someone's mind, and that was kind of neat. There's different islands based upon your core memories that are very important, like Hockey Island, Family Island, Honesty Island, stuff like that. And then they kind of crumble over time as she deals with stuff, and it's kind of this interesting metamorphosis of a person situation you got going on.
Yeah, when they finally get sucked out and they go on the adventure, which it took a little longer than I think it should have, because I think the strength of this movie is the world building they did inside the person's head, and it was very interesting. If they had cut a little bit of the beginning when they're in the control room, they probably could have gotten at least one more interesting area of the brain in there, and I think that would have been good because they had long-term memory, which was there was definitely some funny moments. They had where you make dreams. They had imagination land. They had the
I
subconscious.
thought the dream thing was really good.
The dream
and
thing was
very, very Monsters Inc., which made it really great. And I think it was missing things like Wreck-It Ralph and Monsters Inc. had, where it was more memorable locations.
Yeah.
Although I think we both agree that Wreck-It Ralph didn't have as many as we wanted. That might have been a licensing thing, I don't know. But it was like almost there. It was like knocking on every single door and maybe open one or two.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not the best movie they've ever done, but it definitely has a nice message. It's very, very well done. I mean, it looks beautiful, the whole thing. Like there's a particle effect around Joy the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know if it's supposed to be, because it almost
it
looks fuzzy, but it looks almost, it's not when you look at it, because stuff is moving.
Impulse almost.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be kind of a neuron type thing. Like,
I think
it's
so.
supposed to be reflecting
I think it's
how a brain looks, which is neat. Very good character designs. The characters themselves were good. We didn't talk about the imaginary friend yet, which isn't in any of the trailers. I didn't know this was going to be a character.
Surprised. I don't know if I like him or not. Like,
I think we both agree that one of the things that kind of threw it off was he's an imaginary friend. His name is Bing Bong, which that's
the problem. Maybe Bing Bong is the issue.
That's not a name a kid would come up with. That's an adult trying to come up with a name a kid would come up with. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's usually because I don't know. Kids are usually a little more creative than Bing Bong.
Either more creative or less creative. Like maybe his
Tom.
name, like Tom. His name's Tom, but he's weird. I don't know. A kid would come up with something.
But
different.
the issue that happens is there's some should be intense moments with Bing Bong, but because his name is Bing Bong, it's like, it kind of takes me out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it was a very strong character, and I liked the moving towards adolescence arc that he was the vehicle for.
And there was stuff that they didn't fully address, but you could tell it was coming. Like, the movie wasn't about puberty like I thought it was going to be, but they do go into her imagination land, and they're tearing down little kid stuff. They don't really ever talk about it that much, but clearly she is getting older, and
I think if you had some lines of dialogue with Joy talking about, but we loved that thing, and then maybe sadness being like, it kind of is. We're getting a little old, and then like Bing Bong again. Hate the name. Seem more denial. Have more denial about the fact that you're being pushed out.
Yeah.
And make it more sad. I don't know. They never give you a sad moment.
Here's the thing. They telegraph the sad moments really clearly, but it never hit me as hard as, like, I'll say this right now. WALL-E made me cry the first time I saw it.
Up almost made me. I don't cry at movies, but I would have in both of those. Like, I was close.
This movie, I never even came close to, like, an actual, like, I could see what emotion I'm supposed to feel here. Yeah. Like, for instance, again, spoiler, Bing Bong dies, basically. Yeah. I can tell you're supposed to feel really bad because he sacrifices himself, but I never felt it. They didn't do enough.
It's more like a aw.
Yeah, it's like,
I mean? It doesn't really get you any sort of deep feel.
Yeah, I don't know if it wasn't they didn't take enough time to really build it up, or I didn't like the character enough, but I just didn't feel it. Even the end when the girl finally cries with her parents, and that's the big emotional, like, climax of the movie, I still didn't feel it. The movie about emotions made me feel less emotion than most of the other Pixar films. Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah, but again, and it's not like it's a bad film. I think they were afraid to address it. I think they were like, we can't push this too far because it is all about emotion.
Yeah.
It's not like we can take Up and make you go into a balloon house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think maybe they treaded a little bit too lightly.
Maybe.
Because they could have pressed a few buttons, and it still would have been plenty kid friendly and also enjoyable for adults. And actually, because the message is good. Because basically, the message at the end is all the balls that were her memories up until that point had been one color, either joy or sadness or fear or anger, something like that. But at the end, they're multicolored because people are complex, and sometimes joy and sadness go into one memory, like laughing at a funeral. And that's a good message, and they get a bigger console, implying that she's much more complex, and then there's a puberty button, which they say, "What's puberty?" And it's a funny joke, but you thought they were going to go there when you go into the film.
Yeah. Set up
which
for a
would have
sequel,
been
maybe.
would have been really, really interesting, especially because they kind of flirt with that a little bit, like showing that she's becoming more adult when she has this in Imagination Land, it's perfect boyfriend builder, and he's like, "I would die for Riley," and it's a really funny moment, and then I don't know, they have a neat payoff with that, like, for Riley, and then they all die, and it's kind of funny, and
I'd say I'll get to the message in a second because I do want to talk about it, but this movie was probably the funniest Pixar movie.
For sure. All the jokes were really good.
The jokes were great.
And that's why it's so disappointing that they never breached the emotions, because that could have been the best Pixar movie, maybe number 2, because WALL-E's perfect.
Yeah, if they had hit emotional points like WALL-E did and like Up did, this would have probably been my number 1 or 2. But the fact that it's a great comedy. It's a great family comedy, but it just didn't hit the emotions I wanted it to. But all the jokes were great. Like, they knock over 2 boxes. One's labeled opinions and one labeled fact. Oh, we mixed these up. They all look so similar. And they make a joke like, that happens all the time. Great. That's a great joke. That's the kind of joke you could only do in this movie, too, because they're inside the mind. All the you're inside someone's mind jokes were excellent. In most children's films that deal with something like this, where it's like, the premise is something very novel, like, you're inside someone's head, they do a lot of obvious groaner jokes where it's like such a bad pun or something. Sure. There weren't really any of those in this, though, which is the strength of Pixar. They don't, generally, I should say, because again, they did make Cars 2. They don't go for really easy shit jokes. They make jokes that kids can laugh at, but also adults can say, that's kind of clever writing, that's funny.
Yeah.
As far as the message goes, Pixar's, again, really good at this type of thing with, like, the movie Up and WALL-E. They have the best messages in children's movies, like, in years, because usually you get messages for, like, everything's gonna be okay, everything's fine if you just believe and everything will succeed. And Pixar doesn't deal with that shit. They're like, no, sometimes things are shitty and you have to deal with them. In this movie, great message, which I think a lot of fucking adults I've met could deal with, which is, it's okay to be sad. Some things there's no reason to be happy about, and you can just be sad sometimes,
have to just
and
push
that's okay.
Through and count on other people sometimes because we're social animals.
Yeah,
and it's, I don't know, I really liked it too.
Plus the whole, as you grow older, things become more complex. That's great. It's a beautiful message, and again, I'm really hoping this comes out with a sequel where she is going through puberty or something, because I think that'd be a very interesting movie.
I think they're scared to touch on sex though,
and
I get that.
You don't have to, like,
you could just make boyfriend jokes, or something. And and again, they have this moment near the end where she picks a water bottle up that a boy dropped, and she's like, "Here you go." And inside his head, it's like a teenage boy's room, and there's like posters all over the inside of his head, and they go, "Oh my god, it's that girl!" And it was a really funny joke. Yeah. And alarms are going off, and nobody knows what to do, and that was funny. I think you could have a really good thing like that. I really liked the times when the inside the head control rooms interacted with each other. The mom and the dad interaction, it only happens one time, but it was really fantastic. Yeah. And they make a joke about some Brazilian helicopter pilot or something, and it runs through the movie like 3 or 4 times, and you're like, this is always funny.
the gum commercial joke works too, which that kind of joke I think I would normally get annoyed by, but every time they did it, it was unexpected still, so it was funny. Other than that, just generally very good movie if you haven't seen it. I'd recommend it. You're gonna hate the short film because it's really stupid, but if you can get through that, it's definitely good. I would say see it in theaters if you can, but if you hate kids like I do, see a later show. Seriously, that's the end of the movie review, let's say, but here we're gonna talk about the trailers we saw and some other stuff. But let me just say, if you have a child and you're going to see a movie, even if it is a children's movie, because I concede this is a children's movie, I get it, obviously there's gonna be kids there. If you're not willing to tell your child to stop talking in a movie when they are talking, don't bring them to the movie.
Yeah, it's not just a little bit either. Like, there were kids and some of them made some noises and stuff, which is fine, and, giggled and whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But there was a few that were like,
chatty.
Come on.
Yeah, one behind me was like 9 years old, way too old to not know that it's rude to talk in a movie, and he kept talking to, like, it was his mom or his grandma or his aunt, someone, like, explaining plot details, like, it's because blah, blah. And I wanted to turn around and be like, kid, I fucking hope the person who drove you here can understand the plot of a goddamn Pixar movie. And she never turned to him and said, shh, hey, no, shh. And you need to be willing to do that. And this didn't happen this time, but this has happened in other movies I've been to. So I'm going to say, if you have a baby, under no circumstances ever are you to bring them into a movie theater. Ever. I will get you kicked out. That is a fucking fact. I hate you people. I really, really do. For one, the baby doesn't want to be there because they're a fucking baby and it's dark and loud. And two, no one else wants them there. Three, you probably don't even want them there. You'd rather be there alone. So guess what? Don't fucking bring them. If you can't get a sitter and you can't get your baby to not be in a movie theater, you don't get to see a movie. I'm sorry. Rent stuff on Netflix. Pirate it. But you're not going to get to see a movie for another 5 years. I'm sorry. It wasn't my...
And that's Hugo's diet.
Nothing makes me angrier than people who bring babies into movies. I went to go see, it was like a year ago or something, that Doll movie, where it was like a horror movie.
Oh, no.
It was a rated R horror movie. They brought a fucking baby.
What?
They brought a baby into it, and it cried, and I hate them. And I went and told the manager or whatever, and they didn't do shit until the end. Or, no, I told an employee, went back in the theater, assuming they would come back and, tell the lady to please...
Take your baby out of the
They never did.
movie.
So after the movie, I just kind of dealt with it. After the movie went out, and we got refunds, and the manager never got told. Apparently, the employee just didn't give a fuck, which is fine. I've worked for minimum wage. I get it. I wouldn't give a fuck either. But still, it pissed me off. Anyway, that's enough about me.
Trailers sucked.
And kids. The trailers were all terrible. Kids movie trailers now, except for Pixar and probably DreamWorks. I don't even know. Do they go by DreamWorks anymore?
I don't even know.
I thought they changed their name recently or something. Anyway, I watched the Kung Fu Panda trailer. That was pretty good. That looks funny.
When your best trailer is Hotel Transylvania 2 starring Adam Sandler, you got nothing going on.
Yeah, all of the trailers followed this trend, and it was play the most obvious cringy jokes. Mm-hmm. Also play a classic rock or pop song for the first part of the movie. Fucking Hotel Transylvania did it. Minions did it.
Minions looks bad.
The goddamn Charlie Brown movie did it, which... Ugh. Charlie Brown...
Baba O'Reilly?
What fucking... The Who? What does The Who have to do with Charlie Brown?
And then they played T-Pain.
Yeah, which is terrible.
It was super disjointed.
And, I think Charlie Brown movie could be good, as an idea. And the animation style for that looks cool. Perfect. But if you're going to play, shitty music over it, don't even bother. And then we got one called Underdogs, which looks like the stupidest...
Oh my god, it's like the foosball thing comes alive and they play soccer. But they're from England, but they call it soccer.
It looks...
No, I'm good. I'm not going to see that.
And, I'm not even going to say Minions should be a bad movie, because it could be fine. You can do a super slapsticky kids movie, and it could work. But man, that trailer didn't make me want to see it. No. And in fairness, I haven't seen Despicable Me 1 or 2.
Despicable Me 1 is really, really great.
The people on Facebook who post random shitty quotes and put Minions in the picture for them, that ruins those for me. Have you ever seen that?
That's stupid.
It's so
Don't worry about that, because that's not anything that has
I know,
to do with
but
Despicable Me.
People ruin things for me.
People ruin everything.
Yeah. So, on that positive note, I guess that's the end of this review. Thanks, everyone. Our review of Jurassic World should be coming out a couple days after this. Sorry about it being so late, but
it was
it was so bad, I told Jake not to go see it, so then we had to find alternate means to see it for free.
Legally.
Yeah, sure, legally, let's say that. So thanks, everyone. Until next time, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake.
And this has been Unpopular Culture.